Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Grassroots Racer. Today I'm here with Benny Grice, and yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a different one. Usually, I pre-record my episodes before going live, but tonight I will be going live with my guest on the spot. So, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And before we get into it, firstly, I'd like to thank some people who supported me over the weekend. Like I said to you, Benny, I race at Phillip Island, so there's some people I need to thank. Um, so yeah. So for anyone who, kept up with my post, you would have seen that it wasn't the best weekend. I ended up, coming home with my motor blowing up. But thank you to Lucas from Insane Chassis to help prior to the weekend. And everyone at the track who also gave me a hand, and to Dane and Henry for being my pit crew, and everyone who sent messages of support across the weekend. I really do appreciate it. On tonight's guest, on to tonight's guest, he has one of the coolest liveries going around the Trans Am series, and he's raced quite a few different cars in his time in motorsport. So to find out more, I welcome tonight's guest, Ben Grice. So thanks, Ben, for joining, and how are you tonight?
Yeah, mate, I'm good. Thanks for having me on, and got Barry here. But yeah, it's pretty cool to join you, and yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, so you were down at the island as well, I believe, at the weekend mentoring. So who were you mentoring?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we've got we run a couple of guys, young kids in Hyundai XLs. So young Hugo Simpson in the 117 car. He's been going really good. He's on fire. He's a jet. So he won the weekend and he won the championship. So helping those guys out, and they're on their way to the XL Nationals. So that's quite cool. And I had Ryan Phillips driving my car. So unfortunately, Ryan had a pretty big accident at Sandown the previous round, and I know Ryan's really competent and gave him an opportunity to jump in my car. He was the previous winner back in May at Phillip Island. He had his first round win there, which was really cool to be a part of. So with his car being damaged and destroyed, gave me the opportunity to drive my car and the All-American car. So he was really fast. Just one of those weekends that just didn't work out for him. Got involved with got turned around on the straight and some pretty ordinary average stuff like that. But yeah, it was cool. The weather was definitely a lot nicer than we had to experience the weekend before with the Trans Am at Sandown. That was pretty ordinary, but yeah, the weather was gorgeous at Phillip Island. We had a good time without the nice results.
Yeah. So a bit of a roller coaster weekend, and good and bad, and the Trans Am were a bit of a mess, but we'll get onto that later. Sorry everyone if I keep looking up here. I've got my screen here and I've got Benny up here, so don't mind me looking up every now and again. So normally I'd ask how it all began. So where did it start for you in motorsport?
Where did it start for me? I didn't really have a choice. I was born into a motor racing family. I grew up with it around, with my dad being a professional, quite a successful driver growing up around that. And there was nothing else that I wanted to do. So, grew up never did any go-karting, just sort of had to forged my little path, and the guy that really I owe it to and giving me an opportunity to first race a car was Paul Morris. So I was working at Norwell, one of my first jobs up there, and eventually convinced him to give us a go and a drive in one of his speedway cars on the terms and the conditions that if I broke it, I had to fix it. And I learned a lot about myself and what you put into your goals of going away racing and breaking cars and what you put in and respect to your fellow competitors. So I learned a bunch about the sport, and started off in the speedway in a little dwarf car. So learnt heaps there about what you put in yourself, and then had an opportunity, did a couple of Gemini races. Gemini's was like a single make series in Queensland that was similar to what the Hyundai XLs are now. So I did a few races in those, in and out, with work and stuff. Didn't really sort of take it that seriously. Did a couple of Aussie racing car rounds. So still, dabbling in bits and pieces. And then my first full national championship was in the Suzuki Swift Racing Series, which again, single make. I always really respect or have most, the word be admiration or drive to succeed in single make. Suzuki Swift Racing Series, which was really successful. I think I was second there in my first full season. Won a couple of races. Then to saloon cars. Now, saloon cars were pretty popular and strong. They'd always have really good fields, really tight racing. And there was a little bit of leaning and contact and stuff. So the first year wasn't that great. It was 2014, and then into 2015, we were really successful with winning 12 races and second in the national championship. Then into the 86 series. So still, again, single make. Didn't have as much success. We had flashes of speed, but got tangled up. And, there was some really successful competitive drivers in that, and learn a lot. So, still going. 3 years in 86 and a few trophies there. Then I had an accident. So 86 and 2018, I got had a spinal injury from a pretty big Bathurst accident into the cutting. So in between there, didn't really know what I wanted to do or race again. And to get extra miles, to get extra driving, we built a Hyundai XL. It was really all I could sort of do, and it was achievable at the time, and had some success in that. So that's still the same car that I've got now, that I'd been driving, and sort of the path went over to Tasmania in that car just after COVID. So won a bunch, won the state series down here in Victoria, won the nationals. Then into COVID, went down, took the car down just after to Tasmania, and did race Tasmania in 2021. Got hooked up with Greg Crick again, and he gave us the opportunity to drive his Dodge Trans Am car. So it was really cool how that sort of kicked on, and been going pretty good in the Trans Am series recently. So that's sort of how that's sort of evolved. It's been tough, like without the financial backing, no background of wealth or anything, privilege like that. But I guess it's just a lot of persistence and resilience. You just got to keep trying, and there's nothing more than I love about going motor racing. So just got to keep digging, mate.
Yeah, 100%. And that was sort of a quick summary of your, career up until now. You've done a lot, and you obviously had your accident, and it sort of set you back a little bit, but you've persevered and come through. So just quickly, anyone, if you do have any questions for Ben, leave them in the comments and I'll quickly read over them and ask him. But what do you like most about the Trans Am series?
Again, like if you look at it, it's pretty much single make. It's very controlled technically. So sealed engine, sealed gearboxes, sealed tyre. It was a control tyre. So it really comes back to the technical window that you can work with your guys. They're fast cars. They're proper race cars. So we do have, a few different avenues of that we technically can tune the cars with. And it goes into spring rate. They've got data, and you really have to work pretty hard and have a good relationship with the people around you to get the most out of both yourself and the cars. And they're not slow cars. Really, for what they are, they're quite quick. We're doing 11s in qualifying around Bathurst, and I polled it at 30, high 33. I had 32 at Phillip Island, which is it's almost Super 3 time. So they're quick cars for what they are, and they're still on a bi-split tyre. So they're really quite cool, not being a radial. They move around, and you've got a lot of driver in them. There's a few things that they need to tidy up technically with the cars, but yeah, it's a really good thing. They look good, they sound good, they drive good. And, to be honest, I think it's a better category than if you go down the path of development series of Super 2. You need to find $1 million a year to get an opportunity to race. And these cars are very well controlled in, they don't have a $70,000 or $80,000 front upright on them, which is the key to making the car turn. And if you're not in the right DVS team at the right time, you can look like pretty average. So these cars are cool, how they're technically managed, and they put on a real good show.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously I've watched the stuff on Stan Sports, because earlier this year we bought a subscription to watch TCR, Trans Am, and S5000. So they've definitely put on a good show, and your car definitely stands out in the All American Trans Am. So how was Sandown a few weeks back? We sort of mentioned it. The weather was unbelievable. So tell us about your experiences.
It was tough, mate, to tell you the honest truth. So I was really pleased with the speed that we had on the Friday. So we were fastest in both practice sessions, and pretty confident with where the car was, where I was. Qualifying wasn't that great. We got caught up, really get 2 laps out of the tyres, and I was probably too fast out the gate, and caught some lap traffic on the flyer and got held up there. So we really should end up top 3, but I qualified poorly in 8th, but knew the speed was there. Then we ended up, the Saturday afternoon race was abandoned. Like, our pit stall was literally underwater. The downpour was insane Sunday afternoon, and the meeting, there was races got cancelled, and it was pretty ordinary. So Sunday morning went into the race, starting on slicks, and then again unlucky, which has sort of been our way all year. Fast but unlucky. We started on slicks. It poured down. Decided to start. A lot of the others pitted for wets, and we had to come in, change tyres, went down a lap while we're on the warm up lap. Sorry, just weaving, had a component failure in the front. So kind of lucky that it happened under safety car and I had to pull over. But second race ended up. So the last race, so race 3, everyone started on wets. It was real treacherous. Started 22nd, got to 8th in 2 laps. So had a decent amount of momentum, and then lap 3, the windscreen fogged up, and it all went downhill from there. So I had to went off the road and had to pull in. So frustrating, but it's real good to know we got the speed. I'd rather be quick and have genuine raw car speed and have a good car and a good bunch of guys around me. I'd certainly rather that than be slow and be gifted some Bradbury sort of results. So yeah, one of the, a bit of a shocker, but you got to look at the positives.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you were talking about the fogging. Like, in an open wheelie, you can just crack your visor open a little bit. Fogging generally goes away, but can't really just bend the windscreen back up while you're driving. So I can definitely see how it would have been a challenge.
It is. Look, it's probably the most slippery track in the country rain. First race when I was on slicks, when I could see, it wasn't a problem. But once they fog up, unfortunately, with the engine's quite a long way back in the car, and they don't really have inner guards. So what happens? It fogs up quicker than you shower, mate. So the front spray goes straight onto the engine, onto the exhaust pipes, and above that is the windscreen, so it fogs up really quick. And we're trying to do as much as we can with ducting and stuff, and rain X and fog X and stuff. But yeah, just you end up driving down the straight, looking out the side window at 220, 30 k's an hour, looking where you're trying to brake. So difficult. So
yeah, I can definitely see that being a challenge. But do you race all around Australia, or is there only certain states you race in?
So this year we went from Symmons Plains, Phillip Island, Bathurst, then to Eastern Creek, where we were second. Queensland up in August. That was a good one to thaw out up in Queensland, and then we had that last round there in Sandown. So that was the championship, and we go to Bathurst again, which is always a privilege and a pleasure to race there. We're there in November for the Bathurst International. So certainly that's our last round for the All American Trans Am, and looking to turn it around and get some good results there. So can't wait.
Yeah, it'd be good to see you back up the front, and my brother's always looking for someone to support in each category. So we got our person we need to support now, Benny Grice, and so you're saying Bathurst is the last one.
I'll send you. You got to get us your details. I'll send your brother and yourself. Got some t-shirts happening. So there you go. Look at that one.
Yep, looks pretty cool, man. Just quickly, why the number 3? Is there any significance behind that?
Yeah, so that number, my dad, because these cars are quite an American, well, the Trans Am, and they came out from America. It's got a bit of a NASCAR theme, and my father was quite successful in NASCAR racing when it started here in the 80s, when Bob Jane started the Thunderdome and brought NASCAR out. So before that happened, they tested the waters, and at the time, my father was one of the top touring car drivers around, and Bob put a team together and got some Foster sponsorship, and they went and did the World 600 and qualified. So because there was such a big field, that was really the only number they could get was 03 and 04. Was Graham Crosby ran the second car, and I just thought it would be a bit of a tip of the hat to what Dad's achievement was over there, and to run that number. And then he ran it back here in some local NASCAR racing in Adelaide and the Thunderdome. So pretty cool to do that and run that number. And that's the story behind that. It's unusual.
Yeah, bit different to what I was expecting, but still pretty cool. Obviously, your dad is very successful in Australian motorsport and even international motorsport. So it's good to see. You learnt a lot from your dad, I can obviously see. So you've also done some co-hosting yourself on Parked Up podcast. How was that experience?
Yeah, that was cool. With Grant and Parked Up. So always up for a chat, mate. There's I've also lent on a lot of other people through motor racing. There's always something new you can learn, and just got to reach out and have a chat to. There's quite a lot of people that have helped me in different ways. I mentioned Greg Quick before, and Les Small, who ran a lot of my dad's stuff back in the day in the 80s. So a lot of help from those guys. Yeah,
it's obviously, like I was saying, your dad has done some really cool things. And, just quickly, would you like to shout out your sign writing business for some of those who wanted to know?
We're actually sitting in the the Galactic headquarters at Bang Signs, mate, in Knoxfield. So working late here. Got Barry, my assistant sign writer, and so a lot of my business, my work is generally graphics in racing. So sign writer by trade, and digital print and wrapping and stickers and cars and shop fronts and stuff. So that keeps the dog food up. So yeah.
And how's Barry going? Is he a good assistant?
He's good, mate. Yeah, client liaison. We have deliveries that he just signs for. So yeah, he's good. A few hairs in the stickers, but he's good.
And have you got any advice for young kids who are getting into motorsport and don't know where really to start?
Look, I'd say don't know really where to start. I'd suggest Hyundai XL Racing. I think that's the best thing possibly you could do at the moment. They've nailed the formula. Some of the best racing I've seen. It's also some of the worst. I've seen some pretty average, ordinary, dangerous stuff that really needs to get sort of stamped out. But yeah, they've nailed the formula with just the way that they race and the pack. Some of the pack drafting you see at Phillip, I get really excited about, and it just again it teaches a good way of going racing. They're not too difficult to maintain, just as long as you go through the basics. You can be close to the front and be competitive. You learn quite a lot with keeping the wheel alignment and keeping the brakes fresh up to it, and getting a good, strong, sealed engine from a reputable engine builder. And you're going to have a good time. There's always, you're going a lot slower. You can learn and make those mistakes at those times. But any advice to some young fellas coming up, I just think it's persistence. You just got to keep trying, keep digging, work with the people around you, and open a network of some opportunities of some people that may well help. And don't get too down too and too discouraged when it doesn't go your way, because like if you don't like being disappointed, you're in the wrong sport. It's a hard dig. You just got to keep going, and the qualities of being resilient. Just getting up after your failures and looking at the positives and looking at what you can do again. Because there's 30 or sometimes 35 other guys out there that are all trying to do the same thing, which is win a race. So as long as you put the best that you can in, and the results should show.
Yeah, I could see how Excels is a great category to start in. I just realized we've got 5 minutes left. So do you quickly have any sponsors or anyone you'd like to thank who have helped you along the way?
Oh, there's plenty of people, yeah. With some small businesses that have helped out. Some come and go, and anyone that gives you $1 to help you achieve to get on the grid, they know who they are. But just recently, so my dad in the 80s drove with a guy 85, so it was Cullen. So got together again with Glenn Cullen, his business now with All American Driveline. So it's cool how we sort of got that reconnection going, and he's helped through sponsoring the car, and Les put that deal together, and it's real cool. So real grateful for that, the opportunity to show what we can do. But yeah, you always got to be appreciative of anyone that puts $1 in to keep the ball rolling and get you on the grid. So real lucky to do what I do.
Yeah. Well, it has been awesome finding out that you're racing and even hearing some things about your father. So thanks for giving up your time, as I know you're really busy as you're heading away this weekend. So I wish the best
Yeah.
of luck for you the next race. And for anyone else out there racing this weekend, remember to drive fast and take chances. So thanks everyone who watches the show. I appreciate the support so much. And remember to like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Flippin' Mad Motorsport. So, thanks, Ben, and I really enjoyed it.
Good on you, mate. Thanks again.
It's been a pleasure. All right.